Bonjour, bienvenue au French Tech Podcast. Welcome to the French Tech Podcast here at the second day of the Big Data World Conference in Singapore. Very happy to welcome Christophe from Linkfluence. Hi, Christophe.
Good morning.
Could I ask you to quickly introduce yourself?
So I'm Christophe. I've been living in Asia for the last 9 years. I've joined Linkfluence 4 years ago, and I'm a VP of Sales and Marketing for Asia with two main focuses. One team in Singapore for Southeast Asia, and I also have a team in Shanghai, specifically focusing on the Greater China market.
Greater China market, all
Yes.
right. And what is it that Linkfluence does for their clients?
So we are a social media intelligence provider. What we do is that we collect conversations on public social media platforms or public conversations on those platforms. We collect this in real time as well as on forums, blogs, websites. And we have a dashboard that displays in real time conversations related to brands, topics, influencers, allowing brands to make decisions about their marketing investments, manage crisis, as well as drive consumer insights.
So you collect publicly available information from social networks and you present it in a way that's actionable for companies.
Exactly. So we have an AI solution that allows us to enrich the data based on looking at the sentiments, the location of the post, who is the author, is it an influencer or not, and identify also topics so that we can make the most of the raw data we collect and we aggregate everything in a way that's easy to understand for our clients.
Now that's very interesting and potentially very sensitive kind of thing that you do.
Yep.
I've heard one particularly interesting anecdote about your work. I've heard that you were the only company to accurately predict the outcome of the European referendum in France.
Exactly. So Linkfluence was initially founded by a team of engineers from UTC Compiègne, and they decided to use social media data to understand how society is changing. And in 2006, when the company was founded, they decided to do a test on the European elections, collecting the social media data, analyzing the yes against the no, and they actually did a map of the ecosystem. And they found out that the no was actually much bigger, even though the usual market research companies would say it was going to be a yes. And they were invited on the French television network to say, hey, how did you come with this? And they said, well, we are using new type of data, and this is how the company was launched.
So of course now it's become commonplace to look at political questions through the lens of social media. You were one of the very first to be doing it. Do you have any idea on how come you were the first? How come nobody else was doing it at the time? Can you give us a sense of the market at that time when Linkfluence did this?
So at this time, market research was mostly based on offline or traditional methods using focus groups, panels, etc. People didn't think about the fact that there was actually a lot of public conversations that could be used to derive user sentiments and address big questions. And I guess that the company was a bit ahead of time. A few years later, we saw a need for our clients to access the data, as initially the tool we developed was just for ourselves. This is where we launched our SaaS solution, which is now used by global brands across the globe, from the US to Europe, as well into Asia.
So what kinds of companies use your solution? Is it only private companies or is it also political institutions, for example?
Most of our clients are private companies, typically the ones like Danone, who invest a lot into marketing, who want to understand what is my exposure to users in globally. Luxury companies as well. Being French, we have a strong DNA in luxury, but also automotive companies, sports and goods, across most industries where there is a reason for you to understand what's being said about you, your competitors. How do you understand the trends on your market to feed product innovation, for instance? Because
that's still, for many brands, a black box today, right? You do marketing, you do branding, but you have no real idea about how you're being perceived in the market and what people are really saying about you.
Exactly, and the good thing about social media is that public people want to be heard, they want to express themselves, whether it's on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, as well as into WeChat or Sina Weibo, because we have an office in China, we have strong access to the Chinese data. So it gives the brand global view and the consistent KPIs between Europe, China, and the US, allowing someone who sits in an HQ to have the consistent understanding of the power of their brand, help with the software, but as well with the analysts we have in-house who can make sense of the data we collect to help our clients make the best decisions for them.
That's very interesting. You truly have a global scope today.
Yes.
You started in Europe, now you're here. I want to get to China, but
Yeah.
first we're here in ASEAN, right?
Yep.
In Southeast Asia. Could you talk about the differences between the Asian market and the European market?
Sure. So it make a difference between Southeast Asia and China because of the fact that they are very different universes.
Exactly. Yeah.
Southeast Asia is a booming economy. We have more than 250 million users across different markets, which are very diverse. So what we see is typically that consumers are very much engaged with the local topics that are important for them. In terms of digital maturity, also I see a strong need of brands to be helped because they are taking, I would say, the digital innovation wagon a bit later than in Europe, but they are keeping up and they are growing really fast in terms of capabilities. Obviously, language is a very important piece of support. We need to be able to understand conversations in Bahasa, in Thai, in Vietnamese, so we have a tool that's been designed for this and local analysts. In China, it's a universe by itself for two things. One, access to data can be complex. You need to be a local entity to have direct agreements with companies like Sina Weibo, obviously, as well as a capacity to understand how are the new platforms that are coming up, like TikTok, which is called Douyin in China. Is it something that is going to be very important for brands? Is it something we want to invest in for us in terms of sourcing? Are there new platforms that are coming up we should be covering as well? It's a constant discussion between Asia and our HQ, but also with our clients who tell us, hey, you need to I need to understand what's happening in China, and you need to work with my local team there. So we have people on the ground talking to them and understanding what's the best way to support them.
Would I be correct in assuming that brands and companies are very hungry for insights that span across all of these markets, these languages, these geographic areas?
Exactly, yeah. And at the same time, it's a complex topic because they need partners to understand what's relevant for them from a business perspective. It's not only the KPIs, my share of voice, or my sentiment, but it's also about what's the best way to address a business question we have, whether it's innovation, whether it's measuring the impact of a fashion show in Paris, but within China, etc.
Right. Yeah, that's something that's come up recently several times in the news, right? These kinds of things that happen locally somewhere that have a big impact on the Chinese market, which is often very important for these brands. So, great opportunities, a lot of challenges as well there, right? What's one of the biggest challenges, according to you, in that very diverse, very complicated market?
So for us is to continue supporting our clients at a global scale, because you don't have a lot of companies who are capable to deploy in a well-done manner a project across 24 markets because you need to coordinate, etc. The second thing we're trying to achieve is to identify, we've been very successful in helping global brands have a global presence. We want to do a reverse engineering by identifying global Chinese brands who want to expand outside of China and to do the exact same that we did with
that's fantastic.
global
I love that.
clients. So that's the thing I'm currently focusing on, is to not only identify but show global Chinese brands that they can count on us, because we have both access to global Western and Chinese data, to be their partner to help them expand overseas, whether it's on payments or it's on the smartphones. When you have a lot of global Chinese brands which are expanding really fast. Also because the level of innovation you can see in Shenzhen, for instance, is so fast that I think China is going to be a major player from a branding perspective in the next few years.
Absolutely, and they might be more accustomed to that scale because of the scale that they have at their own local domestic market, but they don't necessarily have the intelligence and the data to accurately address the foreign markets that you're talking about.
Yeah.
That's terrific. It's very, very interesting. Do keep us posted on how things go here in APAC. I hope you're enjoying the conference here.
It's great. You're actually next to your booth, so it's an interesting way. I'm speaking this morning again on the topic of AI. So it'll be interesting to see the kind of engagement we have with the different people who are in the booth or walking around, and that's a great show.
Looking forward to your insights on that. Well, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us.
Thank you, Nikolai. Bye.